fight, let's condemn corruption. But it seems somewhere, somehow, there is where we are not making a breakthrough. And I was following up a story where even claiming money also remains a problem of those all selling off assets of corrupted people that have been found guilty to corruption also remains a problem, selling them and ensuring that that money goes back to the government coffers. So I'm like, even 2024, we are almost coming to the end because we're in the final months. But still, strides in the fight against corruption remain a big challenge for our country.
Indeed, a big challenge for our country. Now, Robert, can we look at what we have in the local news stories?
We have His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the president of this good country, who has commended the Catholic community for mentoring the youth and mobilizing them into wealth creation. Museveni was closing the National Catholic Youth Conference at Our Lady of Lourdes Bujumbura Cathedral in Hoima City. The Catholic community, especially the youth, have been convening at this cathedral in Hoima City for a week-long retreat. The conference, which started on the 10th of December, ended yesterday. This attracted over 15,000 youth from the Catholic dioceses of Uganda. At the event, President Museveni cautioned the youth against politics of identity to overcome the burden of politics of identity in this country. He emphasized that the youth should embrace the 4 core principles of the NRM. He further urged the youth to fight poverty through joining the money economy, putting emphasis on agriculture, tourism, among others. The conference was also attended by ministers, members of parliament. The week-long conference has equipped, mentored, and shaped the youth to participate in the socio-economic development of their country. The Federation of Uganda offering celebrations marking Kyabazinga William Gabulia Nadiope, the 36th birthday at Igenge Palace in Jinja. FUFA President Engineer Moses Magogo, alongside other FUFA officials, handed over the club to the Kyabazinga. Engineer Magogo announced that the club had transitioned and urged the people of Busoga to support and sustain their team. Busoga Prime Minister Dr. Joseph Muvawara introduced the new leadership of the club, headed by Haji Warubi Abubakar, during a blood donation drive organized by the World Mission Society Church of God in Kampala. Blood group O negative is critical in emergencies as it can be transfused to patients of any blood group. This makes it indispensable for accident victims, surgical patients, and mothers during childbirth. Francis Mashahana of French language education, which focuses on integrating project work and activity-based learning. The training focuses on integration of new resources and methodologies that will empower teachers to have on the teaching of French in the country.
Well, moving on, several hundred feared dead after Mayotte, a cyclone. Hundreds and possibly thousands of people are feared dead in Mayotte after the French Indian Ocean territory was devastated by a powerful cyclone. Rescue workers are still attempting to reach some communities as they search for survivors. Entire settlements were flattened when Cyclone Chido brought wind speeds of more than 2 feet. Some of Mayotte's population of 320,000 have said they are struggling with severe shortages of food, water, and shelter. One resident of the capital city, Mamodzu, waiting in line for supplies, said, and I quote, "We've had no water for 3 days now, so it's starting to be a lot. We are trying to get the bare minimum to live on because we don't know when the water will come back," end quote. Another Mamodzu resident, John Balos, said he was surprised he did not die when the cyclone struck. Now moving on to Israel, it says it will close its embassy in Ireland, citing Dublin's recognition of a Palestinian state and support for South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice for its actions in Gaza. The decision to close Israel's embassy in Dublin was made in light of the extreme anti-Israel policies of the Irish government, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said in a statement on Sunday. Ireland has crossed every red line in its relations with Israel. Israel will invest its resources in advancing bilateral relations with countries worldwide, prioritizing those that align with Israel's interests and values, Saar added. The Irish Prime Minister, Simon Harris, condemned Israel's decision, calling it deeply regrettable. "I utterly reject the assertion that Ireland is anti-Israel. Ireland is pro-peace, pro-human rights and pro-international law," Harris added. Ireland wants a two-state solution and for Israel and Palestine to live in peace and security. Ireland will always speak up for human rights and international law. Nothing will distract that. And finally, peace talks between the leaders of Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo called off, according to the Angolan presidency, which has been mediating between the two sides. Contrary to what we expected, the summit will no longer be held today, the presidency's media officer Mario George told journalists on Sunday, without elaborating on why the meeting was cancelled at the last minute. Angolan President João Lourenço, the African Union mediator to end the conflict, was meeting alone expected at the meeting, but it was not clear if he was in Angola. The DRC presidency said in a statement that the meeting was cancelled because the Rwandan delegation refused to take part. Rwanda's foreign ministry said that a lack of consensus over direct talks between the DRC and the rebel group meant that it would not have been possible for a deal to be signed on.
Propped over terrorism, that report is in the New Vision. Also, President Museveni directs finance on the PDM cash as Cleaner's son builds multi-billion shilling retreat facility that is in the Pakasa, as the President Vision interacting with the Bishop of Hoima Catholic Diocese and the Bishop of Fort Portal Diocese. Then Nakaseke teachers sue LC5 boss over exams as police name accident black spots. All of this ahead of the festive season. Now KCCA and City Tycoon to pay 800 million shillings over a road. Now the Daily Monitor writes, Bank of Uganda and Finance lock horns over haste as to look into the theft of money. Ministry of Finance officials are reportedly insisting on awaiting a report by the Auditor General's office, which they say is mandated to check such anomalies in government institutions. Now read about Nabuiso Busoga's encyclopedia was passed on. And then also ministry and experts disagree on the use of DDT in malaria fight, as 14 lawyers fight for slots at Judicial Service Commission. And then Uganda can get more from property tax, according to the World Bank, as attacks on general court-martial are baseless, the army says. Now in the healthy living, how pharmaceuticals are addressing healthy inequities. Now with the Daily Nation in Kenya, President Ruto's administration had promised to treat all equally on health matters. Now the issue to do with the Social Health Authority. Then from Nairobi to Harare, how Patni extended his greed. Read about the devolution, why governors and senators are clashing over county funds. And in an interesting report, this is where you failed Kenyans, activists tell president. And South Korea's acting president moves to reassure allies. That is in the world news, courtesy of the Daily Nation now. Lastly, with the Citizen, Tanzania better off than its regional peers in matters to do with debt, writes the Citizen newspaper. Now, also, conflicting laws fuel destruction of mangroves. As in the diaspora, 3 decades in the US but still in touch with her roots. Who is that? Read about this lady who is giving back to communities in Tanzania as government warns BRT contractors over delays. Also, Tanzania, Kenya remove 50 trade barriers in 4 years. That and more is within the press review this morning.
Thank you, Jerome. Now we are going to take a short break, and here is Last Christmas. Enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
In terms of spiritual, well, many people went to church, and the message, for some reason, over the weekend, many religious leaders also preached about corruption. No wonder we just celebrated the Anti-Corruption Week, but many leaders talked about corruption, condemning corruption, calling upon the youth to engage in the. But it seems somewhere, somehow, there is where we are not making a breakthrough. And I was following up a story where even remain a big challenge for our country.
Indeed, a big challenge for our country. Now, Robert, can we look at what we have in the local news stories?
We have His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the president, and mobilizing them into wealth creation. Museveni was closing the National Catholic Youth Conference at Our Lady of Lourdes Bujumbura Cathedral in Hoima City. The Catholic community, especially the youth, have been convening at this cathedral in Hoima City for a week-long retreat. The conference, which started on the 10th of December, ended yesterday. This attracted over 15,000 youth from the Catholic dioceses of Uganda. At the event, President Museveni cautioned the youth against politics of identity to overcome the burden of politics of identity in this country. He emphasized that the youth should embrace the 4 core principles of the NRM. He further urged the youth to fight poverty through joining the money economy, putting emphasis on agriculture, tourism, among others. The conference was also attended by ministers, members of parliament, and religious leaders, among others. The week-long conference has equipped, mentored, and shaped the youth to participate in the socio-economic development of their country. The Federation of Uganda Football Association, FUFA, has officially transferred the management of Busoga United Football Club to the Kyabazinga of Busoga, following marking Kyabazinga William Gabulia Nadiope, the 36th birthday at Igenge Palace in Jinja. FUFA President Engineer Moses Magogo, alongside other FUFA officials, transitioned from the leadership of Diana Hope Nyago back to FUFA, which has now entrusted it to the people of Busoga under the Kyabazinga stewardship. He emphasized the unifying power of football and urged the people of Busoga to support and sustain their team. Busoga Prime Minister Dr. Joseph Muvawala introduced the new leadership of the club, headed by Haji Warubi Abubakar as chairman and Ayako as the coach. He also presented the team's jersey and official documents to the Kyabazinga, who signed them to formalize the club's new status. The Kyabazinga, after receiving the ceremonial key, officially launched Busoga United as the Kyabazinga's club. The first Deputy Prime Minister, Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, praised Engineer Moses Magogo for his effort in developing sports, particularly football. The country is facing a shortage of blood group O negative, a vital blood type often in
Well, thank you for sticking with us. This is Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I am with Jerome Paul Sonko, Chirabo Robert Nyonyi Ntono, and together now we delve into a conversation in our newsreel. Now, as you know, the country is gearing up for the 2026 general elections. However, when you look at the opposition in Uganda, it begs campaigns across the board, but what we see in the opposition are fights, disagreements, name-calling, to mention but a few. Now, as the electorate, we wonder what kind of leaders are we going to get? Also, who will be the potential flag bearers for different parties? First of all, for the biggest office in the land, that is the office of the presidency, but also members of parliament, and many others on different levels of leadership. Now, when you look at the infights in different political parties, go to FDC, they are broken up. We have two factions there. We have the Najanankumbi, we have the Katonga, and then when you go to National Unity Platform Party, they fired their leader of opposition, Matthias Mpuga, who now also started a pressure group of his own. The other side, we have PLU, which says it's not a political party, but a pressure group as well. Now, when you look at all of this, we have multi-party dispensation in the country, but it begs for the question, how ready are the stakeholders when it comes to the 2026 elections? And these differences we see in our opposition political parties, will they make or break the opposition? And are they creating fertile ground for NRM to win once again when the elections come up, especially when it comes to the highest office in the land? Well, Jerome, I'll come to you first. And from what you've been observing in the media, what's been going on between opposition and the floor of parliament, could you briefly outline the key issues hindering Uganda's opposition unity as highlighted by
challenges that the political parties or these opposition parties are facing? One of the biggest challenges they have is the element of disunity amongst them, and this disunity is basing on differences in the ideologies. That when you look into the opposition parties world over, many of them are always yearning to change the dynamics of how the state or the current government or any given sitting government. And one of the challenges that our own opposition parties are facing today is that bit of the disunity in ideology, or the disunity first of all. How in a sense that we have quite a number of opposition parties. We even have movements that are all opposition, and for you to be an opposition party in most cases is as long as you're not supporting the party in power. And
ripple effect of difference in ideology, or of fighting it of difference in ideology, or of fighting each other within the party when it comes to the general winning of an election?
I hope I get to answer this question rightfully, but many of, let's say, the opposition leaders have today